Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to ASMR. ASMR showcases spine-chilling stories from Reddit, from the paranormal to real-life spooky encounters, and of course, all will be narrated in a soothing ASMR whisper. So let's find a quiet spot, relax, and dive into the world of whispers and chills with these scary stories from Reddit. Please don't forget to leave a like on today's video and subscribe for your regular dose of creepy calm. My grandfather passed away 10 years ago and my grandmother 4 years ago. A few days back, I saw them in my dream. It felt like they were alive and with me. The dream felt incredibly real. My grandfather was sitting on the lawn outside our house. He told me that I would not get things easily in life and that I would have to struggle a lot, even for the smallest things. Right now, I'm in my final year of undergraduate studies and finding it hard to land a job. He said life will be very hard for you and your lifespan is only 36 years. I'm 22 years old right now. This really scared me. Does this dream mean something? Are they trying to tell me something? Or is it just my brain playing tricks on me? When I was a kid, our neighbourhood had a house that we all referred to as simply the Candy Lady. I think this is a common occurrence in many neighbourhoods, though I may be wrong. Living nearby the bus stop made it prime choice for her business. What was her business, you may ask? Well, she sold candy. Loads of kids in the same area would knock on her door and buy various sweets from her. She was always stocked up. A lot of the parents didn't know about it, but the ones who did thought it was weird. My parents included. They forbade me from going there. Of course, that was hard to enforce with her living so close to the bus stop and all. I digress. Something just seemed off about this woman. More than the fact that she sold candy to children, she always had a sour expression. It didn't even seem like she enjoyed what she did. And why did she do it? That was the question in the back of many young minds. Mostly, we didn't care. I mean, we got candy out of it. Something was off. She did this every day, even selling the candy for a reasonable price, never bending to inflation. But one day, something changed. When Tommy went to her door, Tommy was an adventurous kid, never feared anything. He'd speak his mind to anyone who'd listen, no matter if they were a kid or an adult. That's why his reaction that day was so surprising. It was the first time I saw him scared. That day, he barely talked. "Hey, what's up, Tommy?" James shouted. Tommy just stared at him blankly. "Yo, T, what's wrong?" "I can't talk about it." "What do you mean?" No response. I began to worry too. "Tommy, you good, man?" He shook his head. A sullen look remained on his face over the years and, it seemed, like he'd never ever recover. What changed? Gone was the outgoing wild kid we all knew, a shell of his former self. Not too long ago, I came across Tommy's Facebook page. I shot him a friend request and DM'd him. "Hey man, I haven't seen you in forever. How you been, bro? We should get lunch or something sometime." I typed. Really, I was curious. I waited to ask him about that day. To my surprise, he replied. Even more surprising, he agreed to get lunch, replying with a simple, "Sure." We set up a time and a place. I was excited. I know it's an odd thing to get excited over, but I was just dying to know what happened that so drastically altered his personality. The day arrived. We met up at the local taco shop as planned. I sat down in the booth across from him, shaking his hand. "Hey man, good to see you again." "Yeah, you too. What you up to these days?" "Oh, you know, just working." "Yeah man, I hear that. Say, when's the last time we hung out?" "I'm not sure." "Yeah, me neither. It's been a while though. Feels like not that long ago we were kids. Now look at us." "Yeah. Anyways, oh, that reminds me. You remember that weird candy lady on our street? I just thought about that. Wonder what she's up to now." Tommy stared blankly. He sighed. "Is that why you brought me here? To talk about the candy lady?" "Nah man, what?" I chuckled nervously. "Just wanted to catch up with an old friend." "Why do you lie?" I choked on my water. What do you mean?" "I know why you did this. Just be honest." "Alright, fine. You got me." "Yeah, course, a lot of people are. What happened that day, man? He sighed, staring into his tray of tacos. Alright, here goes. I leaned forward, anticipating what he would say next. That day, I went to her door after school, just like always. But this time, she invited me into her house. What? No way, she did. Just be quiet and listen. I nodded. She invited me inside. Of course I obliged. On the inside, it was a normal house for the most part. It was clear she lived alone. She walked me through the kitchen to the other rooms. That's when I saw the birds. At least 20 cages filled with various birds. Sure, that was odd. That was nothing compared to when she took me down to the basement. My heart rate sped up. She led me down there, and it was dark and smelled rank. Kind of like a barn, that type of smell. Then I heard squawking. Oh God, I can still hear that awful squawking. I stopped halfway down the staircase. What's down there? I asked. My children. I'd love you to meet them. They need a new friend, she said. I hesitated, but I followed her. It was hard to see at first, but she turned on a dim light. The squawking only got worse from there. What I saw in front of me were two children, but their mouths and noses were elongated, forming beaks. Their eyes were black and beady, and their arms formed a fleshy triangle resembling wings. Unnaturally long fingers and toes protruded from their arms and legs, with sharp fingernails at least 5 inches long. Come on, don't be shy, she said. The kids were chained up like dogs. They even had a food and water bowl. They squawked louder and louder. I covered my eyes and ears. Come on, she pleaded. Play with them. My jaw dropped. I began to swear. I took off and ran back up those stairs. I looked back to see the candy lady standing there. That usual sour look returned to her face. What? I said. You're joking, right? I felt sick. I hoped he was joking. Why would he be? That'd be a pretty elaborate joke to go on that long and to what? Only tell me. It didn't add up. I wish after that I decided not to be brave anymore. Look where it got me. I never told anyone. I mean, it's cliche, but who's gonna believe me? I know you probably don't believe me either. It's fine. It was so long ago. Those days are past me now, hopefully. I'm 86 years behind. 12:30 p.m, October the 13th, 2025. My family put me in the asylum yesterday. It's been loud, but they said nobody's there yet. Weird. They said I'm in solitary confinement. So why is it so loud? I'm in an asylum, right? 5:30 p.m, October the 14th, 2025. The stupid doctors forced me and the other patients to stay outside in thin clothes to see how much some pilots would last if there was a blizzard. There was a blizzard today, and I lasted about 16 hours before I passed out. I wasn't sure though. I lost track of time. And why would an asylum do that? 9:30 p.m, October the 15th, 2025. I had a stroke this morning. Instead of just giving me a sedative, the doctors tried to hold me down and euthanize me. Somehow I escaped by kicking everyone in the face, grabbing the knife they were going to euthanize me with, and stabbing everyone with a non-lethal cut. These people are crazy. 9:30 p.m, October 16th, 2025. They woke us up forcefully, then they made us torture and eventually kill each other in the asylum. I had to torture somebody, and when I didn't cooperate, they got angry and hit me. My head still hurts. 9:30 p.m, October the 16th, 1939. Oh God, no, it can't be. I asked someone the year it was and they said 1939. That means I'm in World War II. I'm not in an asylum after all. This is a concentration camp according to what I learned in history. Did I time travel? I think so. They're going to kill me soon. I'm dead. And I heard some rumours said that I'm Jewish, which I am. Wait, they're dragging me away. Help. 1:30 p.m, October 17th, 1939. We successfully euthanized experiment 1329. It was an interesting experiment to toy around with, but like all things that I toyed around with, they were eventually thrown away. That means their diary is going to be burnt soon. It is object 19,281,291 to be burned, so it'll take a few weeks to be burned. Farewell. I was house and pet sitting for my next door neighbour slash friend, Angel, while she was in Hawaii. She's a widow, and I was just taking care of her 2 cats and her elderly Yorkie. All I had to do was feed them, play with them, clean the litter box, etc. Pretty simple. Then, while she was still gone, her dog passed away. I called her, did what I needed to do, and put him in the freezer like she asked. That night, after everything settled, I went out to the back patio for a smoke. Around midnight, I started packing up my stuff, turning out the lights, and getting ready to head home. And then I heard it. A bark, but not from a dog, a man's voice, like someone was imitating a dog. I stopped, turned around, and looked. My house is to the left of Angel's. There's a vacant house to the right, and behind her place is another house with motion sensor lights. No one was there. Then I heard it again. Once, then twice. It sounded like somebody was standing just on the other side of the fence, messing with me. The barking got louder, more frequent, like whoever was doing it was having way too much fun scaring me. And the weirdest part, it didn't feel like a person. I don't know how to explain it, but something about it was just wrong. That was all I needed to nope the hell out of there, so I ran. The barking got louder as I booked it, but the second I reached the front yard, silence. I didn't stop until I was inside my house. My husband calmed me down, listened to the whole thing, and said it was probably just some idiot playing a prank. I wanted to believe him, but I was still freaked out. Fast forward a few days, I was outside smoking with my mother-in-law, and I randomly brought it up, told her the whole story. She barely reacted and just nodded and said, "Oh, that's Rex." I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" She explained that Angel's late husband, Rex, used to bark at her from over the fence as a joke. The next day I told Angel, and she confirmed, yep, that was definitely something Rex used to do. I still won't go back there alone at night. So this happened to me years ago now. I'm downtown doing a fire watch in an old building as a security officer. Graveyard shift. The building is 5 stories, not including the basement. 5th floor was a culinary institute. 4th and 3rd floor were offices. 2nd floor was used as storage for the culinary school. Only way onto the 2nd floor is via the stairwells, so a key or the elevator with a code. I had just come down the stairs on the back side of the building and onto the 2nd floor. It's about 3:30 in the morning, and I had run into 2 Hispanic cleaners on the 5th floor about 20 minutes before. As I'm walking down the hall on the 2nd floor, and it's dark, mind you, but I have the street lights outside giving me a bit of light, I hear up ahead of me, on the mezzanine, what sounded like 2 ladies talking. Oh, the cleaners must be finished on the 5th floor. But I stood and really tried to listen. The voices sound like they're up here on the 2nd floor, and they don't sound like the Hispanic cleaners from earlier. As I approach where I think the voices are coming from, they stop. I get to the mezzanine, nobody here. I look to the 1st floor, and nobody there either. I decided to check the bathrooms. As I passed where I thought they were, I could smell perfume. Nobody in the bathrooms. They didn't use the elevator, and I would have heard it ding. And they didn't use the stairs, as I would hear them running and the door slam. Not sure what it was. I could be mistaken, but the perfume smell. Nothing was up there to make that smell. No Glade plug-in, etc. And I never did find out what it was. I had awesome parents who let me sleep in the living room on weekend nights when I was very young, because my sister was a light sleeper, and I could stay up till dawn. But of course, I always end up sleeping on the couch because Nick at night made me tired. So, one night I wake up to a prickly feeling, like an insect. Just pulled it into a sitting position and stared out the front window. We lived in rural Georgia, so you can imagine the magnitude of trees. In perfect light, as from the moon, I see a silhouette of someone in this tree. The family dog dashes to the window and is snarling into the glass. Terrified, I run into my parents' room and try to explain to my parents that there is a strange person outside. Dad grabs something defensive and darts outside with the dog to beat the wax off the hot head. I tremble in Mama's arms until Dad comes home and says he saw no one and to go to bed. I decide to sleep in my regular bedroom. I fill in my sister to what had happened. Daddy's making regular rounds in the house with a cup of coffee. We're all still, and finally I think I can sleep. Nope. I notice the man outside my window, From what I can see in the moonlight, he gives me a shush signal and runs away, just turns around to run a straight line away. I swear I couldn't stop crying for what felt like hours. About 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night, and the drive was about 2 hours. I didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the following day. Most of the drive was on roads with dense bushes and trees on either side, the real creepy ones you see a lot in movies. Anyway, I had been driving about 45 minutes and I was starting to get really tired. You know how sometimes you just suddenly become really tired out of nowhere? Well, yeah, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I didn't come across any place that I felt I could park and safely sleep. Anyway, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up and my tiredness wasn't going away, I did something very questionable. I pulled over to the side of the road onto the grass behind some bushes to try and hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. The roads went empty. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was 11:22 and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awoken by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock, 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, and because I was still extremely tired, I didn't bother looking around and simply went back to sleep. I was later awoken by the same sound, and it was now 12:40. This time, it really freaked me out because the sound just didn't stop. The thought ran across my mind that it was just an animal inspecting the car, but why would it return almost an hour after it had left the previous time? I looked in my rearview mirror and just managed to catch a glimpse of something running away into the forest. Now, at the time, I thought it was the damn hook killer. You know, the one that scratched that couple's car and then slaughtered the guy when he got out to investigate. So, I got the hell out of there. There was a bend no more than 100 yards up the road, and as I came around it, there was a car parked off to the side of the road with the driver's side door opened. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there. There wasn't. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden, this guy comes sprinting around the corner. He starts screaming at me, shouting stuff like, hey you, get out of your car, now. I noped out of there and sped off. I never saw that guy again. Moral of the story, don't sleep on the side of a deserted road. A terrifying but true story I experienced when I was 12. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area except for the family my dad was friends with. Single mum with 3 kids. Luckily there was a girl a couple of years older than me. 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple of years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mum was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother has been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well. She found out her sister was in a mental institution and was let out recently. The night Rob was hanging out with my friend, they get a knock at the door. My friend thought it was their mum. She knocks a certain way when coming in and answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there and he took off through the window to his house down the road. He never thought twice about it. It wasn't her mum. It was the sister of the lady her mum was helping, and she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mum's working schedule. She came in, and this is where I don't know the details, and I'm glad of it. My friend's younger brother got away to the neighbours to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her, and left her body naked in a bathtub, hid her head. They had to look through the prisons, and I don't know where they found it, but they did. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. I had a weird thing happen to me one time. When I was a kid, I had a dream that I got lost in the subways of NYC. I don't remember how I got there, or why I was even on the train by myself in the dream, but I was. If you're from NYC, hopefully you can understand what I mean. It was the kind of subway that you have to get out and then go across the I saw the restaurants nearby and the McDonald's, and also the funeral home was there in my dream. I then turned my head and saw my grandfather walking up the block smiling and waving at me in the dream. I promptly woke up, scared and out of breath. The dream in itself wouldn't have bothered me, because I would have thought, okay, he's on my mind right now. Maybe I miss him, and I'm just thinking about him in my dream. I never forgot that dream because it felt so real. Well, a couple of years later, in real life, I began to go to high school. I used to take the bus to high school every morning, but one day I missed my bus, and it would be 30 minutes before the next one would come. So I decided to try a new route. I decided to get on the train to see if it would be faster. While I was on the subway, I had to transfer to another line I was unfamiliar with. When I got to train number 2, I accidentally took it in the wrong direction. These things happen, so I went to the token booth person to ask, hey, how do I get on the train going to the other direction that I needed to be going in? He told me I have to go up and go across the street because both sides are not connected. As soon as I went upstairs, I saw the McDonald's, and I saw the restaurant, and then I saw the funeral home. I felt the coldest chill I'd ever felt in my life. I was like, oh my god, if I turn my head and I see my grandfather, I'm going to pass out. So instead of turning my head immediately, I just ran across the street, and then I turned around and I did not see my grandfather. But I was stuck there in shock because I dreamed this exact thing a few years earlier. I don't know what this is or what it meant, but I think I saw the future in my dream. I've told people about it, but nobody really takes me seriously, but it was so real. We are currently in my room. My friend is shaking violently. The knocks on my door are getting louder. I don't think it can hold her much longer. How I wish I didn't let him in tonight. How I wish I didn't listen to his story. Oh God, is this how I'll die? My friend, Armin's parents work abroad. Some hours ago they called his aunt saying a crazy man barged into their office begging for help. He was saying something about a girl, how she's the reason his friends are dead, and how she's coming for him. Her name is Luna. But only an hour after that call, his aunt received another call from their number, except that it was the police. They informed his aunt that his parents were killed. Their body was ripped apart, as if a wild animal had attacked them. His aunt, devastated, called him, informing him about his parents' death and the last words they said before their death. But as she was explaining it, there was a knock on her door. Armin, confused and in tears, told her not to open the door, but it was too late. He heard a loud bang, as if the door was torn down, following with the horrifying screams of his aunt. Armin dropped his phone and ran straight to my house. We live very close. He entered my house shaking in fear, telling me about the thing, about Luna. She's now coming for him. I tried to comfort him, saying that it was probably a coincidence. I opened my phone to see it was Luna. I only found a single article after searching for a long time. It said, Luna Anderson was a girl who lived in London during the late 1800s. Her abusive mother tortured her every day, saying that the day she becomes 18, she will kick her out of the house. Depressed and tormented, she took all her photos, clothes and anything that had her information and lit it in a fire before jumping in it herself, taking her own life. Since then, anybody who knows even the smallest detail about her is haunted by a vengeful spirit. Thud. I looked up. There was a knock on my door. My heart sank in terror. No, is that really her? The knocks became louder and louder. Now it feels like someone trying to break my door down. I'm currently writing this down. This may be my last post. She has come for me. This was one of the scariest moments of my life. I was home upstairs in my room, and my mum told me she was going to go put her cake in the oven and head to our neighbour's house while it was baking. Since it was just her and I told her okay, and I was excited to have the house to myself for a bit. I heard her leave and put on a video to watch as I was bored. About 30 minutes later, I heard movement downstairs that I assumed was my mum home, taking the cake out of the oven. The stairs were creaking, and I heard each and every step she took as she came upstairs to then knock on my door and say my name. I responded, and everything went silent before I called her once more and opened my door to see no one was there. As soon as that happened, I slammed my door shut and called my mum to find out she was still next door. As I've had a history of being stalked and nearly kidnapped, she was freaked out and headed home to check it out. No one else was there, no vehicles, no sign of anyone else. Yet I heard each step on our staircase creak as if my mum walked up, and I heard her voice call me loud enough for me to confidently respond, without thinking anything of it. It was absolutely terrifying, and I still don't know how to explain it to this day. My family and I lived in an apartment back in 2012. My son was at school and my wife was at work. I was sitting in my chair in the living room watching the TV. There was a loud bang and three masked individuals barged into our apartment. I was in shock as to what was happening, and one of the people pointed a gun at my head and fired. I heard the gunshot and felt something hit my head. I went limp, and I remember feeling the back of my head hitting my chair. I couldn't move, and it felt like I sank through the chair and into a dark space, but I could still see my living room, my body, and the three masked people. I don't think I was there very long, and I woke up in cold sweats, had a splitting migraine, and I was very disorientated. I took some pain medicine for my head, and just tried to relax the rest of the day, and there didn't seem to be any more issues. I'm adding additional information to questions I've answered in the comments. After I sank down into the darkness, I wasn't there for very long. Two of the people stayed by the door, and the one with the gun started moving things on my entertainment centre. Then I woke up feeling miserable. There was no evidence that it happened after I woke up. I didn't call the police because there was no evidence, and I didn't go to the doctor because of money. When I woke up, my head felt like it was caved in or something. It felt so bad. The entirety of the front half of my head was in pain. I don't even know what to compare it to, and I was sweating so bad, the back of my chair was wet. I stood up, and my balance was off, and I felt very weak. I went to the fridge and grabbed a cold bottle of water. I don't know anything about previous tenants. However, the apartment used to be a full-size house, full basement, 2 floors, and an attic space. It was built in the 1930s, and sometime in the early 2000s was converted into 3 apartments. This is the only time something like this has happened to me. Did I die in 2012? That concludes today's Scary Reddit stories. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this creepy journey, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please also leave your own spooky experiences below.